All right, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to Huddle Up, episode 2. We got kind of our picks, an outlook on the weekend of NFL and college football, and then a little recap of last night. To start us off, I got Hayden with me, of course, the OG.
Yes, sir.
So we're gonna just start right away with Packers Lions last night. I missed a lot of this game until kind of the second half. As you know, had a lot going on yesterday, but definitely caught the end. Um, it was interesting. I think there was a lot to take away. I kind of want to start with the injury riddled Lions defense. Is that much of a concern to you? Do you think obviously coaching is helping a lot on that side of the ball? Do you think it's sustainable? Do you think they're going to be able to still win the division and be favorites in the NFC for the long term?
Um, I will say that the defense looked pretty good in the first half. I think they were getting to Jordan Love a lot, and they were kind of limiting the passing game. I think he only had seven pass attempts in the first half or something like that. Like it was pretty low. I mean, granted they were running pretty well with Josh Jacobs, and I think they scored on their like last drive of the half, minus the knee that they took out.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Yeah,
Yep.
but I don't know if it's necessarily sustainable. I like Aaron Glenn as a coordinator, but a lot of the guys that were playing yesterday were like guys they just picked up. I know the Aleem McNeil guy, he's like the kind of the centerpiece of their defensive line, and he was out for I think the second half of the game with like a head injury, and so they just keep losing guys.
Yeah.
I guess luckily their secondary, which is kind of their weaker point with the corners, they were healthy as well as the safeties, Joseph and Branch. But I don't know. After seeing that,
Branch got a
I
little
don't know if
banged
they're
up at the
necessary.
end, I think.
Who?
Did Branch get?
Branch?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
he
yeah. Branch got.
stayed in, but it's still notable. I don't did he come back in?
I want to say he finished the game.
Okay.
I think, but
Yeah.
yeah, I if they match up with Philly in any part of I don't know any part of the playoffs, I think AJ Brown is way too big of a matchup for Arnold or for whomever that or Carlton Davis. And I don't know necessarily if that defensive line has the juice without Hutchinson and without some of the other guys. I don't know how hurt McNeil is, but I'm assuming he's going to be okay for next week. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed that to what I would say. Again, I missed the first half, but I was kind of following. And the Packers were not doing much. It looked very ugly early on. They got the touchdown before half. I believe, yeah, they got the touchdown before half. That was huge for them. But I mean, they did not do a lot at all. And so I think it's a tale of two halves, right? They were definitely able to move the ball in the second half. To me, it felt um, like they were getting to Jordan Love, even with the guys injured up front. But I mean, there were a couple throws where it was just like they just did not have the secondary capability to keep up with the Green Bay receivers, even without Dobbs playing. Um, I'm just looking at the box score. Yeah, Christian Watson had a couple huge plays in the second half. There was one. Um, yeah, Wicks had a couple of really big catches. I mean, I think if I was to outlook kind of on to how the playoffs are going to go, like I lean Detroit over Philly in terms of like just who I think is more likely. But if they were to match up, I don't know how the Lions are stopping Detroit's or the Lions are stopping Philly's offense. Like especially with just how they play, like the boa constrictor kind of offense that they have, where they're able to just wear teams down in the second half and Saquon gets like that 70-yard touchdown. You're like, well, what are you going to do? I mean, I feel like he's done that like every week the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I think my takeaways overall were I think this could be the NFC Championship. I think the Packers are legit. They did that without Dobbs. They still had 300 yards. One bad turnover, by the way, that I think we got to talk about the Christian Watson fumble. Like that was so. I mean, that was so dumb. That was so dumb. I mean that, and they lost by 3 with that turnover. Like that's one where it's like it's not a pick, it's not like a running back fumble early in the backfield, like on a handoff exchange. That was literally like you're what, 30 something yards down the field and then you drop the ball. Like that's just brutal. That's brutal. So that could be an NFC Championship preview. I like both these teams a lot. Um, I hope we get that matchup again in the playoffs. I know the Lions have obviously played the Packers twice, so we're not going to get that in the regular season again, but we'll see. Um, Jordan Love, yeah, made a couple throws that were off balance, pressure right there that I saw in the second half where I think he's getting back into his rhythm that he was in last year. Early to start this year, it was just a lot of picks, a lot of turnovers. So we'll see. I think it's a great matchup to watch. NFC North games are like pretty much elite right now. Like
Yeah.
they're the best games to watch. Vikings Bears the other day. We had the Vikings Lions, game winning field goal game. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top in that division. But yeah, we're gonna move to the pick 'em for the week. Um, and we can kind of I forgot to talk to you about this before, but we're just gonna go through every game and then we can pick like you can pick your favorite three, and that those will be like your um, that's how we'll track like the record, if you will. Just because picking every game, there's going to be some ones that you're not going to like as much, obviously. So take your best three, but we'll go through every game just because we don't want to miss on any teams, any big matchups. But this one is not a big matchup, the one we're going to start with. Panthers at Philly. That could get ugly real quick. The Eagles are favored by 13 and a half. Are you going to take all the points? Where do you lean here?
I think the Panthers can put up a fight. I think they looked pretty solid against the Bucks. Was it last week?
Hmm. Yep.
And I think they're
And
on
it's even
the
OT. So,
yeah. I think that they're on the up and up. But I think this will probably be one of those Philly games where maybe they start out slow and then they kind of pick it up and Saquon's having a good game and then it just gets out of hand. So I'd probably lean I'd probably take Philly honestly with even with that spread.
yeah, I think the reason I want us to pick three of our favorites out of all of them is because of a game like this, because I hate this many points.
Yeah.
But for my pick, it's Philly for the same reasons. I mean, Panthers have kind of been overperforming lately, just a little bit. Bryce Young has looked good, but Chiefs always have close games. They battled with Tampa, who's like, I don't know, it's a divisional game. So
Yeah.
I'm willing to take the Eagles minus the 13 and a half here also. Um, Next we got Raiders at Buccaneers. The Bucks are favored by 6.5. Where do you go there?
I want to say that they take it outright. Um, with that 6.5, just because it was a close one last week, like we said, against the Panthers. I think they maybe respond well, and especially
Yep.
since they're kind of trying to come up on the Falcons, who are just trying to give away the division to either the Buccaneers or the Saints. I think the Buccaneers maybe make a statement against a lesser team,
Yeah.
so I'm taking Buccaneers 6.5.
That's a weird one. I think, yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking the Bucks minus 6.5 also. I think when you get late in the season, I think one thing that I notice is the teams that like are solidly out, like they just don't want to win. They want to get their draft pick. Like you can't in sports, you can't legally like tank on purpose, right? But you can like, maybe not make a game as close, as competitive, maybe a couple questionable decisions down the stretch. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Raiders fight,
Yeah.
but maybe in that fourth quarter, it's a tie game and Bucks get a go ahead touchdown, and that's the cover. So I'm with you. I'm going Bucks minus 6.5 there. Next we got Kirk returning to Minnesota.
Mhm.
Um, do you think Kirk gets it done going back home, or do you think Vikings handle it? It's Vikings minus 6.
I want to say Kirk redeems himself from last week. I think 4 picks is pretty uncharacteristic from him. I know that he's bound to have a stinker
Yeah.
once a season. So I think returning home, I think especially since they're kind of on the fringe of giving away this division, I think they definitely make it close. I think they'll cover the +6. I don't know if they'll win, but I think Kirk will play a lot better than 0 touchdowns, 4 picks, and 2 or 3 of them coming in the red zone or whatever. So
Yeah.
how about you?
Fair points. Um, I emotionally want to go with Kirk. I'm a big Kirk fan, but the Vikings are a heck of a team. This is a big task. I feel like it's not just a going home game. I think you've got one team that is significantly better than the other. And I was a little bit of a Falcons believer kind of going into the season, but it feels like they've just gone off the rails and it's just not working. Like I wouldn't even be surprised to see them switch if the Falcons were to lose this game, could they go to Penix? It's definitely possible. Um, so they're just not playing well, and the Vikings are like red hot right now. Very underrated. So I'm taking the 6 points. I'm going Vikings -6. Darnold outplays Kirk, which is wild to think about, but it's gonna happen. Book it. Um, Next, we got a divisional game: Browns at Steelers. Steelers favored by 6.5. Where do you go here?
I want to say I think immediate reaction is going back to the game a couple weeks ago, and that one was a pretty close one in the snow in Cleveland. And Jameis was playing well, and he played pretty well last week. I want to say I take the Steelers just because I think they're a different team at home, and I think that defense is gonna clamp down on what Cleveland's got going on. I think Cleveland's kind of been flying too close to the sun the last couple of weeks just with their offensive output. I don't think they're necessarily that good. So I probably have the Steelers at six -6.5.
I think that's valid, but I'm going with my guy Jameis. He's been hot. I mean and I know that snow game was kind of crazy. I don't want to give all the credit to Cleveland there, but I mean this guy Jameis is a baller and he wants to win. He wants to compete. So it kind of goes against what I said earlier with these teams just kind of want to get a draft pick and whatever.
Not
Like,
Jameis.
yeah, not Jameis. And I think like there's something to be said about these divisional games too. I mean, like Raiders, Bucks, like the Raiders aren't super invested, but the Browns are going to be fired up for this game. They AFC North games usually lean to the underdog, so um, I'm comfortable going with the Browns here plus the 6.5.
Mhm.
We got another divisional game. This one could get ugly. Jets at Miami. Somehow this number is only -5.5. That kind of tells you, I guess, where I lean, but what do you
Yeah,
think?
I I don't know. I still think that the Jets have the capability because they kept it close with Seattle last week, and Seattle's leading the NFC West, which is kind of a stinker of a division right now as it stands. But Miami at home is a different animal than Miami at any other location, and especially with them trying to get into the playoff position, I think they still have a shot mathematically. I don't think
They
it's a
do.
very
They
high
do, yeah.
shot, but they're still going for it. I'd be different if it was like -7. But I think at -5.5, I think this offense might be due for one of the not the Broncos explosion that they had, was it last year or whatever. But I could see Miami putting
Yeah.
up I could see Miami putting up a pretty big dump here and
Yeah.
just nuking the Jets. So I'd probably lean Miami 5.5.
Yeah. That's where I lean. Kind of the reasons you said. The Jets find a way to implode. I mean, even in that Seattle game last week, you're like, what is going on with this Jets team? I mean, they just I was this is where I was very wrong. One of my takes I was very wrong on for this season. I thought the Jets were going to be really, really, really solid, and they just they're not. Rodgers is really looking like, you know,
Old.
pedestrian. It's a bummer because I love Aaron Rodgers. heck of a quarterback, very interesting guy to follow. But yeah, Dolphins minus 5.5. For the reasons you said. I mean, they're trying to make a playoff push. They don't want to keep this game close at all. They want to win. They've got the weapons. I know it's a divisional game, but like the Jets are not playing for much right now. So they're probably drafting quarterback at this point and making a new pivot. So Dolphins minus 5.5. I'm with you there. Saints at Giants. This one is Saints favored by 5 in MetLife. Where do you go here?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to take the Saints on this one, I think, at -5.5. I think the loss last week to the Rams kind of pushes them into the back seat of that NFC South division. I guess they still have a shot just because of how mediocre the division is, and especially without the Giants having um, Dexter Lawrence. I think Kamara is gonna have a nuke of a
Mm,
game. He had a pretty good game last week against the Rams, but I think he'll have an even better game against this Giants defense. And I think Derek Carr is the master of winning games that really don't matter. And so I think he probably airs it out. And they just, yeah, I could see it being close, but my gut's telling me the Saints just wipe them. So, yeah.
I'm with that. Okay. So Saints minus 5. In a game where it's ugly and I won't be watching a second of this game besides maybe a couple red zone clips. I'm just gonna go with the underdog, Giants plus 5. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, I don't even know who they got at quarterback. If they're going back to Drew Lock, that'd be electric. The Saints don't have Taysom Hill, which I think is actually kind of notable to a point. He's one of their massive playmakers. He had like a 3 touchdown game or something in the last couple of weeks. So yeah, I'm gonna just take the underdog here and see what happens. Jaguars at Titans. Titans are favored by 3.
I want to say Jacksonville's fired up after that game last week. I know you're a Texans fan, so you know what I'm talking about here, but I just don't see Mac Jones leading a team to winning football. As maybe blatant as that is, I think Will Levis maybe has a get right game or whatever the case is. I think he probably throws for, let's call it 300, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I just see the Titans at home, especially with their defense against that type of offense that's been struggling. ETN's been terrible. Bigsby's been missing. Yeah, Titans -3.5 or -3. Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, yeah, Mac Jones I mean, this game's ugly. I could see this being like one of those weird like a 21-19, where
Yeah.
it's just like I'm going Titans because I think you have to. But this could get ugly. I mean, I don't think the Titans, even though they did win last week against my boys, I just I don't see them really. I mean, they're not playing for much at this point still. So yeah, I'll go with you. I'll go Titans -3 there. Now we're into the afternoon games. We got Seahawks at Cardinals. Big NFC West game. Cardinals are favored by 2.5. Where do you lean here?
I know the last game between them was pretty ugly, and I think the difference was a really bad Kyler Murray pick that turned into a pick six. I don't think that he does that this week, and especially since they've skidded now twice in a row.
Yeah.
-2.5 seems pretty fair. I could see the Cardinals emptying the clip on the Seahawks, quite frankly. I think the Cardinals need this win in order to stay in the hunt. Otherwise, I guess a team we'll mention in a couple seconds is going to be creeping up. But
Yeah.
I want to say the Cardinals take this one. Um, they're at home. They've been struggling a little bit, and the defense has been so underrated. I think there's opportunity here, especially because I saw Kenneth Walker might be hurt, and I know that their run game hasn't really been amazing this year. But yeah, I take Cardinals -2.5 on this one.
Um, I think I'm gonna go Seahawks here. I know you. I mean, you're an NFC West guy, obviously. When we recorded the episode that didn't air, you absolutely nailed the Seahawks beating the Cardinals in Seattle. I think I just this Cardinals team is so inconsistent, and while I have been pretty wrong on them, I think Seattle is just they're just more talented. Um, in my opinion, I think offensively they've just got so many weapons, and Gino is almost like Jameis in the sense of like he's a little bit of a roller coaster, but overall it seems like I mean even last week he had a pretty bad first quarter. I can't remember how the first half ended in that game, but they turned it around and they won the game, and they beat San Fran with a rushing touchdown from Gino, kind of to walk it off. I kind of think that's what you're gonna get, like, and I kind of trust that aspect of Gino, and so I'm gonna lean Seahawks here plus 2.5. Um, I don't know if you're gonna be at this game. I'm sure you won't. No, you're
No,
not.
I can't will myself to do it.
We got Bills at Rams. The Bills are favored by 3.5. You got to take off the biased lens and tell me where you're leaning here.
Yeah, I've seen the Bills come into LA and walk in their trap and take over their trap. I expect nothing less from the Bills. Maybe the Rams surprise me and they keep it close, but I honestly think the Bills like destroy the Rams. Just being quite frankly, the Rams can't stop mobile quarterbacks for the life of them in the Sean McVay
Yeah.
era. I don't know what the reasoning is behind that. I think James Cook can have a nuke of a game. I think if Keon Coleman plays, I think he could burn the secondary. I think Amari Cooper might even have a good game. The Rams don't cover tight ends, and the Rams offense looks terrible in the first half every single week. So three and a half seems kind of generous at this
Yeah.
point, but I'm definitely leaning Bills on this one.
Yeah, I've been betting the Rams a lot this year. I've liked these spots, these home games with these teams coming in, like Philly, a couple weeks ago. I I think the Bills are red hot right now, and I know the like I would not be shocked at all to see the Rams win this game, but I just haven't seen it really, especially offensively against a pretty weak Saints team. I'm kind of like that was not great last week. Um, and I know NFL games. The reason I love the NFL so much is because every game's going to be competitive. I get that, but again, at this point in the year, when you're playing a team that's like that doesn't have an identity, they're kind of lost. They're not competing for their division or a playoff spot. You expect to handle those games and at least look pretty competent. And the Rams just really, in a lot of spots, didn't in that game. So I want to take the Rams so badly, but I'm going Bills with you, minus 3.5. The mobile quarterback point is also really valid. Hurts got a lot of scrambles against the Rams in really big spots, like on third downs, and Josh Allen's going to be able to do that. He might even, I can make the argument he's a better scrambler than Hurts. So,
He's gonna
uh,
run for like 100 this Sunday,
yeah,
dude.
yeah, he might. So, Bills minus 3.5. I'll take them in the points. Bears at Niners. Niners are favored by 3.5. Um, what do you think?
I We're probably gonna disagree on this one. I've been pretty hot on the Bears just because I think Caleb Williams is pretty good, and I think with Thomas Brown, the new OC slash I think he's the head coach now, the interim head coach.
Yeah, he is.
DJ Moore and Keenan Allen look like I don't know, prime Randy Moss and prime Jerry Rice out there. Like they're just destroying everybody in their path. But I don't know, something about 3.5 doesn't sit right with me. I think the Niners at home. This is kind of not a get right game, but I think this is one that they can take back. I think Purdy's playing this week. I want to say Trent Williams is playing. I don't
I
know.
can look really
That's
quick.
kind of a big thing. I know they lost McCaffrey for the year basically, and they lost Jordan Mason for essentially the rest of the year, and so they're relying on that Isaac Grundo. He honestly might be their most explosive back now that CMC's legs are like kind of kind of in the gutter. I yeah, I kind of like the Niners in this spot. I don't know if they'll necessarily cover, but my gut is telling me they might win by like a touchdown. I
Yeah.
think they have a lot of pride with their team. So I want to say I take the Niners.
Just so you know, Trent is questionable to this point. We're recording this Friday, kind of in the afternoon. He's questionable. He did not practice Thursday, so
Mm-hmm.
guess we'll see. Who knows? That is a big factor, though.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I hear you. I don't think this team's that good. This is where I've been right this year for sure. I mean, it started early in that Niners Rams game. I mean, I don't know what it is with this team. They're just not good. I mean, they're 5-7. I think they kind of know, like, I know they can make a run. I know they've got the talent on paper. It's just feels like they can't catch a break. Purdy just is going to be coming back. They just had an ugly game in Buffalo last week. I, I'm taking the Bears plus 3.5 more because of the Niners than the Bears. I trust Caleb more than I have early in the year. I think I like overall what he's doing. Competed with the Lions with a great second half on that Thanksgiving game.
Mm-hmm.
The talent is starting to show, but it's more about the Niners. I mean, I don't know if they really like want to win this game. I don't know. I mean, like obviously they do, but like I could see them being down early and just giving up, and this could get ugly. Um, is Lenore playing? Is he back? Because that's also a factor.
I
He's
was
back.
actually going to bring that up. I don't think he's back, but I will say that the Niners secondary, even though the defense, I guess the defensive line's been banged up with Bosa and then Hargrave's out for the year, the Niners secondary is still like top seven, eight in the league
Yeah,
statistically. I think that rookie they got from Florida State, Renardo Green's been good. Malik Mustafa's been good. Jai, I think it's Jair Brown has been pretty solid. And if they get Ward back, I don't know if he's been playing necessarily amazing this year, but they have a chance, I think, just based on that. So yeah.
yeah. No, I hear you. Now the Sunday night game. This is going to be an interesting one.
Whew.
I'm curious where you lean. Chargers at KC. The Chiefs are favored by 4. Where do you go here?
I really don't know. um, the Chiefs just squeaked one out on Black Friday against the Raiders, and it was due
Yeah.
to a potential missed call. I know there's a lot of controversy about the false start that turned into an illegal shift.
Yeah.
I I do like the Chiefs at home, especially in the winter. I don't think the Chargers are necessarily geared for that, but they do have the defense to kind of keep them in the game. I think for the same reason that you brought up, I think it was in the Seattle game, you talked about their weapons. I just think the Chiefs, frankly, have more weapons at their disposal, especially with Pacheco back. Now they have him
Hmm.
and Hunt in the backfield. He's getting healthy. D Hop is still doing his thing. Kelsey, and then Worthy's speed. I don't think anyone matches that on the Chargers, but I could very well see the Chargers covering and this being like a walk-off field goal situation. But
Sure.
I guess I'll take the Chiefs at -4.
Yeah.
Black Magic runs deep with them, so
Yeah, I think people have been looking for the get right spot with the Chiefs and for them to really handle, a team, and it's been ugly. The Panthers game was close. The Raiders game was very close. Um, I think this is the spot where the Chiefs look really good, and I think it's a crucial divisional game. I mean, obviously the Chargers still a little behind. I think they're 8-4 right now. So I mean, there's a couple game difference, but I mean, with a Chargers win, the division opens up a little bit more. So I think this is a game that the Chiefs are like, okay, we get right with this game. The division is ultimately sealed. We're safe, etc. So I believe in the Chargers a lot. I don't know. This seems like too tall of a task at this point. They did compete with the Chiefs very well at home in week 2. That was a heck of a game, but again, Mahomes in the second half. And I think there's something to be said about Mahomes when trailing is just better. He has four downs to work with in the fourth quarter instead of three. That's very scary. And I think they cover this four. I think it could be one of those situations, kind of like the Raiders Bucks game, where it's very close going into the fourth, and then the Chiefs just kind of pull away at the end, backdoor cover, and get to 12 wins. I believe it's 12. Um, Monday Night Football, our last NFL game. Bengals at Cowboys. The Bengals are favored by 5.5 in Jerry World.
Yeah, I'm going Bengals absolutely demolishing the Cowboys on this one. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I just I don't think they're gonna stop Chase or Higgins. I think Chase Brown might have like 150 yards on the ground. Quite frankly, I don't see it in the Cowboys, and especially since Cooper Rush is playing, this might be a game for their or like Bengals defense to kind of get right and get on track and maybe get a couple of turnovers on him and instill some confidence. I don't think that they're going to make a push. They're just too far back now, but I think this is a game where you can kind of win it and then maybe they can go on a streak and kind of feel better about themselves the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm totally with you. I'll probably, because I'll bet this game, I'll probably buy the spread to like 19 and a half. Um, I've got Cowboys bias, but this is a rough spot. I do think that Bengals defense is very vulnerable, and that scares me, even though it's Cooper Rush at quarterback. Like, you have CeeDee Lamb, who's also phenomenal, along with Jamar Chase. So I'm definitely going Bengals minus 5.5. I think you have to. But it would not shock me, jokes aside, to see this be a pretty high scoring. Like the over under I'm looking at it right now is 49.5. That game's probably going over with how bad that Bengals defense is. But the Cowboys have no chance at stopping Jamar and Burrow either. Um, yeah, pretty
Yeah.
self-explanatory. I think Bengals minus 5.5. That's the pick there. Now we're gonna go over a little college football here, and then we'll circle back to the NFL picks, and I'll have you give me your favorite three. You can kind of think about that for a second. Um, and like we talked about, I'm just gonna run through these games, and you can kind of interject if you have something. I know college football is a little bit more my thing than yours, but I know you watch here and there, so just let me know when you want to jump in. We'll start with tonight's game. UNLV at Boise. This is the only game I'm really going to talk about for the Friday games. I don't really care for Western Kentucky and Jacksonville State or the Tulane game. No real playoff implications there. Um, this is a tough spread of 4.5. UNLV plus 4.5 at Boise State. You just have to lean Boise here. That's going to be a cold weather game. And you got to lean on Boise's run game to get it done with Genty, who's phenomenal. My Heisman personal pick, but it is what it is. Travis Hunter's going to win it. Um, there are parts of Boise that scare me, big picture as well. Like their passing game is really ineffective. But against a team like UNLV, I'm not super worried about it. UNLV does have a very good offense. I think they can keep it competitive. I would worry a little bit about that 4.5 point spread, but I just don't think you can go against Boise here. They win this game, they're going to be probably the 3 seed in the college football playoff, which is absolutely wild. And so I think they're going to be ready to win. They're going to be focused to get the 3 seed and get the bye. Now for Saturday's games, Iowa State versus Arizona State. I don't remember where this is being played, but I know it's a neutral site game. Um, I know it's moved because Tyson's out, which is Arizona State's leading receiver. I'm not worried about it. Arizona State has a heck of a run game, and I've watched Iowa State this year. I love watching the Big 12 football, not because I don't think they're the best in terms of level of competition, but the games are absolutely electric. Um, I just don't know if they have enough to stop Scatbo. I think that's how you pronounce it, which is Arizona State's leading rusher. He's had a couple really, really big games. Um, Iowa State has a passing attack. I this is a toss-up game. I'm just gonna lean. I lean run game in games like this, and so I'm gonna take Arizona State. It's a pick 'em, which is why I didn't say the spread. You can pick the side. The spread's one. So Georgia at Texas. Of course, I should say it's not at Texas. This one's at Atlanta and the Falcon Stadium. So it's a neutral site, but it favors Georgia a little bit on that side.
Texas,
No, no shot. I've got
100%
some.
shot.
I've got some emotional bias just because I think in the Georgia Texas game earlier this year, what the Texas fans did, I just think they're. I just think there's the fan base is soft, the team is soft, and Georgia, even with Beck, they won that game 30-15, and Carson Beck had like four picks. Like, so that says a lot. I think Georgia wins this game outright, and I'll obviously take the +3 in terms of spread picks. Um, Georgia did look bad last week. They've been very inconsistent. I just think Kirby Smart teams are going to show up in the games that matter. Even in that Alabama game that was so ugly to start the year, they didn't show up and they turned it around and played a completely different game in the second half. It shows you what this team is made of in terms of just coaching um, and being able to win and compete in the big spots. They handled Texas, who people say Texas has the best O line, and while I do believe that, they really, really got exposed against Georgia in that game, and so I'm going off of previous history, and um, I'm taking
Is
Georgia +3.
is Archie playing?
He might. It would not surprise me to see what happened in that game earlier this year, where you get Quinn benched. I think Quinn's been playing better. I just think Archie, sorry, Arch, with his legs, I think gives Georgia problems. It was a brutal spot for him to be put into that game, and I totally understand why Sarkisian decided to do it to kind of try and give his team a change of pace. Quinn was not playing well, but he's got that experience. He's got a couple starts under his belt, so it would be interesting, and I think he'd play better than Quinn if he was put in. But I'm not the coach, so it's Quinn for now. I'm pretty sure.
If Archie plays, I think they beat Georgia just based. I've been seeing a couple of the Georgia games. Like I watched that Georgia Tech game the
That was
other
wild.
other week, which
Yeah,
was probably the game of the year.
game of the
But
year. Yeah.
I, they look so sorry, and that was at home too, right? That was in at Georgia,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't watch too much college football, but I don't know if I can necessarily bet against a Manning, especially if he's playing. And that Carson Beck is like, I wanted him as a prospect. Um,
That's changed
and so
for
and
sure.
so now maybe the Rams odds are really high because he's going to be slipping into. I don't think he's going to be a first round grade anymore, just of how poor he's played.
Mhm.
Um, but the Georgia defense is always something that's supposed to be like pretty elite. And I don't think I've seen it necessarily from them. I know they have Starks and a couple of other guys in
Yeah.
the deep end, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking out of my rear end here, but if Archie plays, I think Texas takes the -3.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You're not crazy at all for that. They've been inconsistent. Like that's kind of the scare. But that's why I say like they just show up in big spots. Um, and when I say big, like SEC championships, I know they lost to Bama last year in that spot, but I don't know. I trust Georgia. I trust their coaching. Texas has not won really in big spots yet, so until they do, I'm not gonna fold on that. But no, it's totally valid. I mean, Beck has been turning the ball over, but it's gotten better over the last couple of weeks. But he still has not looked great. So it could go either way. But I'm pretty confident in Georgia there. Um,
I'm sure they
Penn
wish they had
State.
Raiola.
If they had Raiola, they'd probably be undefeated at this point. um, Penn State at Oregon. Again, I say that, but it's a neutral site in Indiana. Um, as a guy who roots for the Ducks, and I'm a diehard, I would advise everyone to take. Yeah, go Ducks. Thank you for that. Please take Penn State for a number of reasons. I believe in this team. I think Oregon can win a national championship. I haven't said that in a long time. They don't really have glaring weaknesses, but it just feels like a weird game, especially in terms of bracket implications. Like Oregon isn't really in a pressure spot to win this game, um, and Penn State, it really would help them to win this game in terms of where they're seated right now. I would make the argument that it helps Oregon to lose this game. I don't know if I really think they're going to lose, but my point is I don't think they're going to pull out all the tricks in the bag to beat Penn State. Football is not a sport where you can like tank and like purposely lose. You get hurt because you have to pretty much be playing at 100% all the time in football, which is why I love to watch it. But I just like you're not gonna get the super aggressive Dan Lanning, I don't think, in this spot. I think Penn State, what they do well is run the ball, and I think that can wear Oregon out a little bit. I don't call Oregon's run defense necessarily a weakness, but in spots you've seen even Genty early this year against Oregon. I mean, he's phenomenal, but he did expose them a little bit. And Penn State has guys to run the ball. Singleton, Aller can move a little bit. So it's just too many points. I think Oregon's going to win. I don't think Penn State has enough to win the game. But in terms of a 3.5 point spread, I think you got to take the 3.5. Oregon maybe wins by a field goal or 2 points. So that's where I land on that.
I just want to interject here. I obviously don't watch these two teams, but I will say the key difference, I think, well, I guess just in my mind, there's a quarterback in this game that'll keep you in the game, and there's a quarterback in this game that'll lose you the game.
That's fair.
And I think I don't know what the consensus is on Drew Alar with the draft thing, but I don't think
Yeah.
he's
He's
solid,
lost.
but I don't think he's Dylan Gabriel, and I don't think they have Oregon's got a squad
Yeah, I
of
mean, no,
dudes.
they're phenomenal. I think that this is their year to win the Natty. This is just a weird matchup and a weird game. Um, I don't know. It just that 3.5 throws me the wrong way. Um, so I think you have to. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I would take Gabriel over Aller as well, but I just don't know if it matters enough to me, just in terms of the spot for both teams. But we'll see. Maybe the Ducks will prove me wrong. Maybe I got this completely wrong. Some people think I do, but um, I think I got a grasp on it. I think Penn State covers. Clemson at SMU. This one's very interesting because you've got a team that people are calling very. They just haven't played anybody. Blah blah blah. Whatever. SMU. They're 2.5 point favorites against Clemson. Clemson's got kind of it's a neutral site as well. Clemson's got more of the home field. It's not at their place, but still. So SMU's 2.5 point favorites. I really want to go SMU here emotionally, but it's kind of like the fading the Chiefs, fading the whatever the greats idea. I don't want to go against Dabo here. I don't think Clemson's that good this year. I don't think they quite have the talent they've had in the past. You can make the argument on why, NIL, so on and so forth. But I'm getting Clemson as an underdog against a fairly unproven SMU team. I do think they're better than people give them credit for, but still, I mean, it's not like they're elite. And so I'm going to take the the elite coach in the spot and take Dabo and take Clemson plus 2.5. Do you have anything there at all?
I don't know who is on. I can't name a single player on SMU. I just know
Yeah.
Cade Klubnik is garbage. So
Yeah, I don't
yeah,
think Clemson's that great. I really don't. I like, but and they looked really bad last week in South Carolina, but I'm just taking the coach. That's really
yeah.
it. Um, so let's circle back to NFL real quick before we call it. I'm gonna post. By the way, I'll be posting the picks onto our social media so you can follow them there. But I got all of the picks written down. But give me your favorite three that you want to kind of put into the record books.
I think if I had to make a parlay with the stuff going on this weekend, I'm for sure taking the Bills at minus three and a
Okay.
half. I think that's like
Okay.
free money. Um, I know you and I kind of split on this one, but I think the Cardinals at minus two and a half. I think a
Okay.
walk-off field goal is probably the way it goes, or even Cardinals maybe win by a touchdown at the end of the game. I could see that happening. The last one I'm kind of iffy on because I wanted to take the Titans versus the Jags, but that's just like a dumpster fire versus a bigger dumpster fire. So I don't know if I necessarily want to put my eggs in that basket.
Yeah,
I'm probably gonna eat this one later, but give me Miami against the Jets. I
that's
think
what
that's
I'm gonna do.
I think that's a
Yeah.
pretty solid one. I think Achan might have like 900 yards this game.
So your three favorites are Bills minus 3.5, Cardinals minus 2.5, Dolphins minus 5.5.
Yeah, I could swap out that last one for the Chiefs game even, but I'll rock with Tua turn the ball over. So
I like it. I like it.
yeah. How about you?
I'm looking again just to make sure. Um, Chiefs minus 4 is my first one. Um, gotta love them in that spot. Um, Bengals minus 5.5. Just the Cowboys aren't. They're not gonna be within a touchdown in that game. Um, I hate going all favorites, but I'm doing it. Vikings minus 6 is my third.
Was you
Um,
you had Bengals, Vikings, and then who's the third?
Chiefs.
Whoa.
So
Okay, so
Chiefs
we
minus
picked
4, Bengals minus 5.5, Vikings minus 6.
I'm surprised we picked completely different games.
I know
I thought you were gonna bite on the Bills one.
that was not gonna. I like the Bills in that spot. I'm gonna pick that game. Like I'm gonna bet that game. But in terms of my three favorites, because I could see the Rams winning, I really could. It would not shock me. But I think the Chiefs are for sure gonna win. I think the Bengals for sure gonna handle business, and I think the Vikings. So that's kind of my thought process.
Okay. I like it.
Um, and then I guess I'll put them out too. But my picks for the college football games. Um, yeah, Boise State, Arizona State, Georgia, Penn State, Clemson. So
Gene T's the Heisman. Had to get
I
that
think
one
so.
out there.
I think so. I think, and it comes down to like the MVP argument that we had, right? I think there's consistency there, and I think the stats matter. I think Travis got the. I mean, he's a two-way guy. He's got stats on both sides. I'm with it, but I mean, Gentie's like, I don't know. He could touch um, Sanders' record. He could. And I think that's, I mean, it's just crazy enough. Um, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I get it. Trav's got some hype. He's a good guy. It is what it is. But I don't know. You got 1,800 yards and how many touchdowns is it? Like,
Garbage
I got,
time.
like, yeah. Okay. So Genty had, yeah, 2,390 total yards, 29 touchdowns on the ground. I mean, like, come on, dude. It's it's just next level. And he's done that against Oregon. He's done that against competition. The
And
people that,
he's sitting out like quarters and halves of games.
yeah, yeah, exactly. People don't realize that. He'll like, there were a couple games early this year. He had like, I think the Washington State game. I
He could
wish I
be at
had the second
he
half
could be at
breakdown.
3 grand this year if it wasn't for him sitting. I'm like so serious about that. He
Oh,
could
I
literally
know.
be like,
But I get it. Deion Sanders hype. It is what it is. Um, People that don't know ball. It's all right. So that'll do it for episode 2. Appreciate you guys. As always, we appreciate feedback. I know this one was a little bit different. It was more of just kind of a picks episode instead of kind of analysis. So let us know if you guys like that. Um, we'll put these picks on the social medias and see how we do. Maybe one of us will go undefeated. We'll see. So appreciate you guys. Peace.
peace.
Um,